Curiosity. Curiosity brings you maybe to your passion. That's how he said it. Maybe to your passion. He believes we must try to incorporate our passion into our work, if we know what our passion is, obviously, or work within our passion. If you know what your passion is, then try and find work within it, or incorporate that passion into the work you're already doing, if that's possible. But obviously thinking, I don't even know what my passion is. How can I find out what my passion is? So he says to ask questions and try to find the answers to these questions in life. Like, so when you're going about your day-to-day life, ask questions, be curious. Like, why is it that color? Why is that flower like that? And that flower is exactly the same, but that color. Go in, research it. You might find that, you're coming across all this biological terms and stuff, and it might spark a passion that you have, or an interest you might have that makes you dig deeper, and you might stumble across your passion. So he says that this search can take you down a rabbit hole that leads to a hidden passion you may have that you were not aware of. If you are not curious, if you remain passive, you will never find your passion. He states that some people, like Mozart, are born with a very obvious skill and passion, but for most of us, we're not. We're not born that way. We have to dig for it and search for it. But both, I know you're passionate about this too, Roger.
Yes.
I definitely am passionate about us living full lives and not just having jobs, but having lives that and having careers that we're passionate about, that we wake up excited to go to, because work takes up a large chunk of your life, and if it sucks, then a large chunk of your life is going to suck. Yeah. So let's try and make that part of our life something we love and enjoy. So stay curious, people. It might take you to your passion and therefore change your life, make it better. Also, just want to quickly say, I know, we have busy lives, and we get stuck in our routines, and we get into autopilot, and it's hard, we get switched off. It's hard to stay curious, but, we just have to be aware of that and be intentional. It's not going to be easy to stay curious. We have to work at it. We have to put in an effort, an intentional effort to stay curious. So write it on your wall. I don't know, whatever helps to make you remember that. What have you got, Raj?
Boom.
Boom. Boom.
All right.
Nice.
My moment is... there's this great guy. He's an investor.
Is he great?
Awesome. Well, he's fantastic, man. And all seriousness, he was on Joe Rogan as well, and I've started listening to that again. His name is Naval Ravikant.
Yes.
I believe he's an investor, but just a very wise man, especially when it comes to...
Send me that podcast.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. He said, read... So, I think you're the same as me. I want to read a lot more. I know it's important. I find it difficult to do. And
audiobooks help.
Audiobooks help, but it's kind of half cheating, and he even talks about that.
Yeah, pros and cons
you
against that. You can't write notes if you're driving and you're...
Yeah, but exactly right. And it's harder to go back. He said, read what you love until you love to read. And that really made sense. And he was saying, even if it's junk food books, junk food in inverted commas, so it could be like trashy, what's that 50 Shades of Grey? I guess that would definitely be classed as a junk food book.
Twilight?
But
Is Twilight in that category?
Twilight, yeah, they were books, weren't they?
Yeah.
So read what you love until you love to read, and that makes perfect sense. So just start with whatever is going to be enjoyable for you until you develop that passion for reading, and then you can move on into things, and you get that habit, and you become an avid reader. And he also said that I don't know any smart person who doesn't read all the time.
Yeah.
And I've heard that, not just from him, from gazillion people.
Yeah.
It's like all the great minds and the great people in the world, all of them, most of them are avid readers. And, I think it's really important to read more, especially nowadays where our attention spans are so short because we're constantly on our iPhones, and, we can't go to the bathroom or sit at a train station or a bus stop without getting on our phones because we need that freaking attention hit, Got to get something to...
it's a form of meditation reading now.
Yeah, it has to be. It's hard to sit down and concentrate on something for more than 5 minutes at a time. That's not a game or anything like that. And you've got to feed your brain as well as your body.
Yeah, and stay off from the distractions and stay on the book.
And focus. So it's going to help your attention, practices and stuff like that as well. And obviously you're going to become more intelligent. Boom!
And learn.
I've just got a quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, which related to me from last week, which is a story I'll tell in the coming weeks. But it is, do one thing every day that scares you. And
I love that. I've heard that one
I told
before, yeah.
I told Jay a story about last week after I left here, went to Rebel Sport, and just really quickly, a couple of kids, there were some thugs there, and they stole something, I believe. It was pretty obvious. And I sort of confronted them, and long story short, that terrified me, and I was really scared. My heart was pumping, but goddamn, I felt alive. And I was very happy that I did that. And, I just felt energized for hours after that.
That's good. That kind of ties into what we were talking
Yeah.
about with CVAs and standing up to that inner voice that's telling you, hey, that's not right. You need to stand up for that.
And you just got to do stuff that pushes the boundary and gives you energy.
Makes you
as
feel
opposed
uncomfortable,
to going through your day just doing the monotonous things. Like I keep a diary every day, and it's almost depressing when I write an entry. It's like, oh, well, nothing happened today. I didn't do anything. So do one thing a day that scares you. I think it's a healthy way to live
That
your
could
life.
just be like, apply for something or check something out.
Yeah, don't go
do something
down
new.
the street and push a guy that's 6'2". It's like, oh, let's go.
Yeah.
That scares you. But just something that makes you uncomfortable.
And I guess that makes us like try and tune in a little bit more into ourselves and ask that question. Okay, what's scaring you
and why
right
does
now?
it
And
scare
why
you?
does it scare you? And is this something
it
maybe
need to scare you?
you need to confront?
Yeah.
And sometimes on the other side of our fears can be answers to questions we have, and it might even lead you to your passion. Like last week we talked about being curious, staying curious, also staying curious to what scares you and why. And maybe that's where you need to dig into. My one is about when you've got big choices ahead, you've got like a few choices to choose from, and you're trying to make a decision. I think, and I'm a culprit of this. Like I can be on the fence for a while sometimes. I can and look at all the pros and the cons for all the choices I have before me, and then ultimately not even make a choice for a long time. And sometimes, look, I really believe in taking your time and speaking to people, getting counsel, thinking things through, looking at the pros and cons. But ultimately, I really believe in the importance of finally choosing, making a decision and choosing one of the choices you have before you. Look, it's scary, especially when these are big choices, decisions to make, when they involve maybe moving or studying or committing to something for a few years, But sometimes we make them bigger than what they actually are, and sometimes we think, oh, if I move, then that's it, and no, or if I go do that course, then I have to do it for 3 or 4 years. That's not necessarily the case, right? Like you can at least make a choice and start moving, because movement is better than just being on the fence. And I'm a big believer in that. I've seen that happen in my own life where I've just been on the fence and I'm getting frustrated because where I am is not where I want to be, but because I'm not sure what decision to make, I just stay where I am, and it's frustrating me. I'm getting angry at myself. I'm getting angry at my situation. And then I felt that when I've made a choice and just picked one, usually you're not going to. Sometimes I've had moments where I felt a peace inside. Yeah. And even though, like, there was one moment where I was in LA and I knew I needed to get out. It was my second time back in LA. I wasn't happy. I had the choice to go back to Colorado. I'd been there a month earlier. I spent a week there. I had a brother there. There was a job opportunity for me there. It was an easier move from LA to drive to Colorado. I had family and friends there. It seemed like the better move to make, but something deep within me said, you need to go to Europe again, and you need to go spend a couple months in Sweden. I had a good friend up there who was offering a room as well. Love that guy. Otto Martinez, shout out to you, buddy. But and that seemed like the crazier option. But for some reason I felt a peace about it, and it didn't feel right to go to Colorado. So I went with that. And ultimately that decision, I felt so much peace being in Sweden and dropping everything and dropping the acting for a couple months and centering myself as well and leaving the club job and getting away from that noise. And then ultimately, a month after, 3 months there, like a month after my 2-month stay in Sweden, I ended up getting that film, the Paul film, man, and then all that unfolded. So I couldn't have planned that. Yeah. But all I had was that peace, Yeah. But sometimes, and usually, not sometimes, usually there is no peace. If there's peace, I follow the peace. But sometimes there's no peace, and then even then, you just need to make a decision. Just jump for one, because once you start moving, And then more answers come. You know what you need to do, and then more answers come from that, and the next step comes, and the next step comes. Sometimes just know you don't need to know the whole plan. Just take the next step, and the next step will come. The next step will come. And if you decide, this isn't what I wanted, then cool, man. Change your mind again, and then maybe go for the other option if you still can. But you're moving now, and you're cutting out those options, and now okay, this isn't it. But you're moving. That's movement forward. Even if if you're discovering, it might not be discovering what you want to do, but you discover one thing you don't want to do anymore. So that's movement. That's progress. Whereas if you just stay on the fence, umming and ahhing, sometimes you're like that's no progress at all. And sometimes you're never going to know which is the right one until you actually jump into it. So my word is just making a choice is better than prolonged indecision. So just jump, guys.
Cool.
Do it.
That's good, man.
Bam.
Getting out of purgatory.
Yes.
Exactly.
And when you make take a risk, take a jump.
Yeah. And it could be the wrong choice.
Could be the wrong choice, but there's lessons learned.
You have to live it and wear it, and then make your assessment. Just don't live in the past, which is,
keep moving them from there
as well. But
keep moving from there, even if it's not what you want to do. It's a lesson learned, and it's moving forward. It's progress.
Yeah.
It's better than just staying on the fence and not progressing at all.
Cool.
So bam.
And that will tie into the boom moment for me anyway.
Boom.
Which is, well, it sort of does. Again, it's from The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
It is the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting.
I love that.
I believe that. So for him, for Ben, keep that possibility alive.
Yeah, we're definitely into believing that dreams can come true because they have for people. It's not guaranteed, but it can. It's the possibility that makes life exciting, right?
Exactly. And that's why I always say a lot, and very successful people talk about this as well, like when they become wealthy or successful or famous or whatever it is they're pursuing, that it's never as good as, the wolf climbing the mountain.
Right? Yeah. The fun is in the journey.
Or even just the possibility of
getting it.
Of something happening. Yeah. That's why acting is so alluring. It's because you never know. Maybe
it's the climb. It's a climb. It can happen. Yeah. But then once you get to where you want it to be, then you'll probably set another mountain up, or another bar to reach.
Enough?
And that's just human nature. Yeah. So, and that's another. It goes into like just making sure you enjoy the journey, because that's usually the main part, and it may be the only part.
Yeah.
You may never reach the top of the mountain. So make sure you enjoy the journey of it too.
What have you got?
I have. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. I believe it. Epictetus is how you pronounce it.
Very nice. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think and this is probably an easy one to take on if you're a beginner and you're starting at something.
Yeah.
But I've felt it in my own life as well with acting. The older you get and the longer you've done it for, and you've done all these classes, and then you don't kind of want to do classes anymore. And I get that as well, like when other people have felt the same. But you can tend to feel like, I've done a bit of work now, and I've done it for a while now, and I'm this age now. And if I go to a class and there's a bunch of young people, I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't want to make a mistake, because then it looks like I'm crappy or I'm not good enough. And I think if you... That's ego and that's pride, and you feel like you get caught up trying to prove that you're good enough, and that keeps you then keeping everything safe and not wanting to step out and go beyond what you've already done, and therefore you're never going to grow. But if you stay humble, especially as you keep getting older and advanced and further into your craft, I think if you keep remaining humble and keeping that mindset and that attitude of being a student of the craft, or anything in life, it could be business or the job you're doing, even in your relationship, if you keep open to, there's always something to learn. I'm not a pro at this. Even if I've been married, say, for 25 years, I am not a pro at this, and I want to be open to learning. I've got here that, this attitude will humble you and open you up to take risks, as you are not caring about possibly making mistakes and falling flat on your face. You are not trying to impress and show how good you are. You are solely trying to learn and get better. And by having the courage, therefore, to go into new territory and try new things, taking risks, you will most likely better yourself. Pride, on the other hand, can keep us from taking risks or doing anything that risks us looking foolish, and therefore we stay to what we know and what's safe and comfortable. And it also implies that you need to take action as well. In order to come across as looking foolish or stupid, there must have been something done, right? So action must have been taken, because you can learn and get all this head knowledge on something. Like you can learn about photography, right? On masterclass and online classes, and be learning on how everything works and how to use the camera. But it's not until you go out and try to start using the camera and taking action where you're going to start fumbling around. And, when that head knowledge has to become practical knowledge, that you can start making the initial mistakes. But it's that fumbling around and making the mistakes and coming across foolish and stupid that you need to go through that phase. It's a necessary phase to go through before you become a professional and an expert. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Yeah, and that's a phase you need to go through to keep upping your level as well. So
Cool.
Be comfortable looking foolish and stupid. Awesome.
You have no problem with that.
No, mate. That's my middle name, mate.
Go.
One of these days is none of these days. That's awesome.
You kind of killed it there. Who's Rick Warren?
Rick Warren is a pastor in California. From
Is he fettuccine?
Yes, that's right. He's a Christian pastor from what's his church's name again? Gosh, I've gone blank. Rick Warren.
Check your Bible app.
Oh my God,
Rick Warren sounds like a race car driver.
Yeah, he does.
Rick does. Warren doesn't. He's got two first names.
He's great, man. He's been through some things in life, but stays faithful and hopeful, and gives away a lot of money. He wrote the book, The Purpose-Driven Life, which is like a bestseller.
Yeah.
Sold so much. He says one of these days
I get it.
is none of these days.
So if you're saying...
get to it. Put a plan in order now and get to things now. If it can be done now, then get to it, guys. Stop waiting for ideal situations and procrastinating. Very rarely will you ever feel totally ready. So yes, guys, I encourage you, get to things as soon as you can do them, man. If you can do them now, just do them. You're not going to feel totally ready. It's okay to plan and prepare a little bit, but eventually you got to take action. So it's just saying one of these days ends up being none of these days. Boom.
Boom.
Boom. All right. What have you got?
I've got
Roger.
In the theme of Kobe Bryant.
Awesome, man.
One
Let's
of
round
his
it out
great
with
quotes
Cobes.
that I heard. I believe he was at the Staples Center, I believe, saying this to the audience and to his children as well.
Yeah. Is this his retirement speech when he retired, when he finished up, eh?
Those times when you get up early and you work hard. Those times when you stay up late and you work hard. Those times when you don't feel like working. You're too tired. You don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream. That's the dream. It's not the destination. It's the journey. And if you guys can understand that, what you'll see happen is that you won't accomplish your dreams. Your dreams won't come true, but something greater will. And if you guys can understand that, then I'm doing my job as a father.
Wow. That's awesome. Boom, mate. Thank you, Kobe. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. It's very simple.
Good old Marco.
Good old Marco, mate.
Marcus
Marcus Aurelius.
M.A., my boy.
M.A., mate.
That's pretty good, actually.
M.A., as long as he's not
Nice
M.I.A. Yes, beautiful one to just, when the shit's hitting the fan, when you're stressed out, like it could be worse. Hey?
Could always be worse.
You know what? You're still here.
Yeah.
And because you're still here, you're still breathing, you still can think, you have the opportunity to enjoy life and to love still. Because you're still here, you have options still. You can still plan things. You have the power to change things. You have options. You have freedom. You have choice. That's a beautiful thing, man. If we can really come to a full realization of that every single day when we get up or whenever we're down, I think that would make a big difference in our lives.
It's hard to do that, though. But
it is hard, man. It's hard to really take that in and appreciate it and really understand and fully fathom what that means and what a blessing it is. Like I think I've mentioned before, part of my morning routine is writing 5 things I'm grateful for every morning.
That's what I was going to say.
And many times I write, I'm alive.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I'm alive.
Because I used to have a diary and it had your appreciation every day, and I'd write things, but I'd just be writing things just like, all right, I'll fill it in,
Yeah, you can get there, but I try then,
bad.
if I'm just ticking things off if it becomes something I'm just trying to tick off in the morning, then I I make an effort to like sit back and say, no, you don't need to rush through this. Really think about what's making you happy today. It could be that, I had a good audition yesterday. I'm grateful that I have an audition tomorrow maybe, or I'm grateful my family is still alive, or I have the ability to pursue what I want to do right now, or I have a US citizenship, or EU citizenship, little things like that. But being alive is a big one. Sometimes even when I can't think of anything, I'm alive. That really like, whoa, I am so grateful for that. Death is like, I think I think about death a little too much, but so I'm very well aware that one day it's going to end for me, and so while I'm still here, I'm going to bloody enjoy it, mate, and I'm going to make the most out of it.
Good hair as well, mate.
Thanks, buddy.
Now, my boom moment. This is a really brief story about when I was I think I was 13. I was playing went to Waverley College, which is a high school in Sydney, and
is that a sports school or an art school?
No, it's a regular school.
Okay, cool.
And they're pretty good in swimming, but that's about all they were. I loved basketball, but obviously when I was in primary school, like I never played it in any kind of competition, just on the court there that we had that was like slanted at 20 degrees anyway.
Oh my gosh.
It was just whatever. And I was pretty excited because Waverley College had proper basketball, indoor courts, and it was like, oh my God, it's like the timber floors. Exactly
that's exciting, hey?
Anyway, and I went there and did the trials, and I made the 13Es, which was the second lowest team that you could make. But one of our games, I remember my parents used to always come, or most of the time used to come to the games. And basketball wasn't a sport that my parents were into, it was soccer. But they would still come to this. And one day it was like a timeout or a halftime, and my dad had come down from the rafters and, given me a kind of pep talk right in in the main area there where all the players and everything were, not on the court, but just off the court. And was like, I can't remember what he said, but it was, you should do this. And when this guy does that, make sure you do this and then you shoot, or whatever it was. Right. It was pretty intense. And I remember at the time, I would just be thinking, don't embarrass me. Like, stop talking. Like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. That kind of little arrogant little kid. Because my dad would do that kind of stuff all the time. And I wouldn't appreciate it at the moment. And now as I get older, I appreciate things like that. And I don't know why I remembered this story.
That he even wanted to be involved. That he even gave a shit, like that he cared.
In basketball, of all things, as well. And like, it just means well. You know what I mean? And my Mr. Forrester, who was this 6 foot something, I say this endearingly, black sport PE teacher. And we all looked up to him because he looked like this big American black guy that, athletic, and we, I looked up to people because I see them all in the NBA, and I was like, cool, he's so cool, because he was really cool as well.
Yeah, wow.
And he had walked past, and I remember kind of seeing him in my periphery. Anyway, the next week we were in PE class, and he brought it up, and he said it was something along the lines of, isn't it great? I saw Roger there, and his dad came down, and even though he was in the, a lower team, he still took the game seriously and was there to win. And his dad and we were coaching together. His dad came down and spoke to me, and we were discussing, how we can improve, basically, is what he saw. Even though it's just like a friendly game, in the 13Es, Waverley College, didn't mean anything.
The last place you'd probably expect something like that happening, maybe in the A's or something, right?
And I remember that, and it's like, he was trying to get the message across that it doesn't really matter. You should always give it 100% and do your best and try and win, which is something I really am passionate about. It's like, if you're going to play to win. Yeah. I hate this business of participation bullshit and stuff like that. It's like, give it your 100%. No one should get a token victory like we talked about with the Academy Awards. It should be earned. And in sport, at least it's very... It's mathematical. It's like you win or you lose. You score more points, you score less points. It's not subjective.
Easily measured.
Very easily measurable,
yeah.
There's always, discrepancies with referees, but generally it's very well measured.
Yep.
And for some reason, I remember that in the last week or so. That's awesome, and then I appreciate my dad saying that and taking it seriously, and especially with me, because I take it seriously, and I didn't appreciate it at the time. But Dad, if you ever watch this, I appreciate it now. And it was good. And it was good that, my teacher saw that, and that made me respect him. Like, I got attention from this cool teacher that I was really looking up to, and then he made me a referee.
That's
and all
awesome.
that kind of stuff. And
For other basketball games
Yeah.
or something? Yeah, oh, cool, man.
so it was cool. That was
Don't
a
you just
cool
love
moment.
and respect a good teacher too,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
And it's such an
Mr.
important,
Forrester.
like job. It's a privilege to do what
Yeah.
they do, and they've chosen this path. It's and it's an important job they do. Some of them choose to just not respect it. And they don't look at the importance of it. I had some bad teachers in high school, but we won't go there in this episode, mate. Thank you. What was his name?
Mr. Forrester.
Mr. Forrester. Shout out to Mr. Forrester too. Yeah, boy. Awesome, man.
It's done.
All right. That is done.